Welcome, guys, to another episode of Consciously Curious, where we deep dive with those that are thriving in their passion. On today's episode, we have someone who just recently finished the EMT class. She's been a flight attendant for about 3 years, coming up on 3 years. Miss Kris King.
Hi, how are y'all?
You guys can find her at officeintheskies.com, where she kind of shares her personal experiences in the skies. But yeah, you've been a flight attendant for about 3 years, and you made the EMT class work
Yeah,
while flying.
right. So we get to move our schedules around a little bit. And
Right.
I just kind of worked my days off for the class. So,
And we're all about pivots here,
Yeah.
life pivots, and on the podcast. And you came into this field a little later in life.
I did.
What were you doing prior to this?
I was a hairdresser for about 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
And at what point were you like, I'm tired of this?
When my last child went to college, and I was just like, it's just me, so I think I want to do just something a little different.
Okay. But did did that feeling come up before that, and you just feel like you were maybe tied down?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I lived in a small town in Tennessee.
Okay.
And it was just getting a little harder to make a living doing what I did. And why not? I mean, life is short, so you just might as well make the best of it. So
Did you ever feel like you wanted to get into this even before being a hairdresser?
I did.
Okay.
When my son was 3,
Okay.
I was offered a position when Allegiant Airlines started.
Okay.
And I felt like I couldn't do that because he was so young. So I decided to be a mom first.
Okay.
And then I really didn't think there was an opportunity at my age to be a flight attendant.
Sure.
But I was surprised. Several companies offered me positions to come and train with them. So,
They offered.
yeah.
So
I applied.
You applied. Okay.
Yeah, and I had several offers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've just been perusing, and I've heard that it's difficult actually
It is.
to get an offer.
And I didn't even realize that. I just kind of put in, I guess because of my customer service, I have a lot of
Right.
customer service. And I just looked up some ways to build my resume
Okay.
for the airlines. And I did that. And I think it was in a week I had my first offer.
Okay.
And then when I went, I was told it was like 1 in 1,000 gets offered.
Right. That's
and
what I heard.
I was amazed. I really didn't know that.
So what's the average age in your class, and like maybe if you know in the current classes?
The average age is usually you have to be 21. So usually in the 20s are the average ages.
Okay.
There were a couple of people that were my age in their 40s.
Yeah.
Not many. I was the oldest one in my class.
But so the customer service skills, I mean, if you're 21, it's not, I don't know how many customer service skills, like
I
how
know.
much you'll have of that.
Mostly people that have had jobs since they were 16.
Okay.
A lot have a college degree. And
Is that required?
no, it
that
is
required?
not. I do not have one.
Hey, I'm an advocate for that too.
Yeah. So I just, and that was another thing. I thought you had to have a college degree. You do not.
Okay.
And they go with life skills, how you carry yourself, how you talk to people, and you have a video interview and how you interact with the video interview.
But is the video interview after the online or paper interview?
Yeah.
Or paper application?
Yes, it's
Okay.
after the online.
Right, so you really got to shine on paper too.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but it's people that have been teachers or because there was a lot of people that tried to do things in the field that they wanted to and they realized it wasn't for them.
Okay.
Teachers, people that were kind of wanting to do nursing.
Okay. Yeah, people that want to help people. I
Yeah.
guess, you know?
So EMT,
Yeah.
they would get hired really fast.
Was there a game plan? Is it easier to get onto like regionals rather than majors?
Right.
Okay.
So I didn't realize that, you should really try for the major airlines.
Okay.
They were not hiring when I started 3 years ago as much. They are hiring, a lot of the airlines are hiring really big right now.
Oh, okay.
And so I applied for a regional, and it really helped me. It was a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the training was 3.5 weeks, but the regional was almost 7 weeks. And it's pretty intense. I think people think we're just there to serve them drinks. So it's
No,
I didn't
just kind of
realize.
like an EMT. Like you're there for the worst
Yes.
case scenario.
Yes.
God forbid it happens, but you have to be prepared for that.
You do. You have to be able to get everybody out of the plane in 90 seconds or less.
I didn't know that. 90 seconds or less.
90 seconds
That's a lot
or
of people.
less. I didn't either. I'm like, what? How are we going to do this?
I'm gonna go back to why are airlines looking really hard right now?
I think after 2011, they let off and furloughed a lot of people. There was a pilot shortage too. Not a shortage. They weren't hiring as much because of that, because they had so many regulations, government regulations, airport regulations, and the airlines just kind of stopped then. It was a huge impact. And I said 2011, I meant 9/11.
Right.
Yeah.
2001, yeah.
So in 9/11, it made such a huge impact. And so they quit hiring.
Okay.
A lot of airlines went out of business. A lot of airlines have consolidated, like U.S. Airways, American, United, Continental.
And so now things are kind of
Yeah.
settled.
So now the airlines are growing right now. A lot of people are retiring.
Okay.
So they're maxed out. The age it's on the older side right now.
Okay.
And a lot of airlines are trying to change.
Maybe culture.
Yeah, they're trying to make a culture.
Yeah.
They're trying to hire younger.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a higher turnover rate or just people or like they opened the
There's-
floodgates, like it's open now, like come
it's
through.
like a
Okay.
floodgate.
Okay.
Like our airlines last year hired 2,000 people, and this year they'll probably hire about 3.
That's got to put a burden on training.
It is. So, but it's
quality control and
it's
all that.
it's unique,
Okay.
honestly. And I don't think it's just one airline. I think several airlines are hiring really big right now.
Okay.
And I think it's the time. It's where they're growing, and then their employees have gotten older, and they have to retire. And most people don't leave this job. I never knew. I was like, I'm just
That's
going
cool.
to
It's good to
travel the
know.
world a little,
Yeah.
live a little. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have done this when I was younger.
So I wonder if a lot of people go into this like, oh, I don't want to settle down yet, but then they realize
They
like,
do.
this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Everyone that I meet so many different flight attendants on the plane, and especially we call them the senior mamas and daddies that I meet on the plane. They were doing it for 3 years.
Okay.
I'm going to do this for 3 years. I'm going to do this and, go to college or something. When I'm done, I'm going to travel the world for a couple of years. And, 30 years later, they're still here. 30 years later. Like that happened. How long have you been here? 25 years? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about seniority later on.
Yeah.
You said training was about 3.5 weeks
From the regionals.
from regionals, and then you said up to 7 weeks for majors.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was intense. I think the experiences that I've read, like they're all like they make you question like if you want to do it.
People cried.
People cried.
Yeah, it was really intense. You go 6 days a week, and you have 1 day off.
And it's not necessarily in your hometown.
No,
You go where they're like
where their
we
training
call you
centers
show.
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much time did you have to find like living arrangements before
They put you up in a hotel,
they put you up? Okay.
and they feed you 2 meals a day,
Okay.
so it makes it a little easier.
Do you know if any airlines don't do that?
Some of the regionals, they put you up in hotels, but they might not feed you. You have to. Most of us brought our lunches, but most of the major that I
They'll
know
take care
of,
of it. Okay.
yeah,
No, that's nice. That's good. To know.
yeah, they take care of.
Okay. And then walk me through the actual process, like week 1, week 2, week 3.
Week 1,
Yeah.
you go in, you don't know what to expect.
What's your cohort size?
The what?
Class size? How big?
There was
the,
about 75 in
That's
our
a lot of
class.
but they broke you up into smaller groups, or?
Yeah, they broke us up in an A group and a B group, so they just did
Okay.
us in half.
Okay. Okay.
And the first week, you learn basic BLS, and that's what they focus on really the first week, and
BLS, like
basic life support.
right? Like how much of that is like, did you? How much of the EMT class was from that?
Just the American,
So it's kind of CPR?
yeah, just the
Oh, okay, okay.
CPR part.
Okay.
And they did first aid and stuff, but
Okay.
actually that might have been the second week. I think the first week was just learning what it was to be a flight attendant,
Okay.
kind of what we were going to be doing, meeting everybody, touring the facilities, and our aircraft we were going to be on. And the first week, you're just like, oh, this is great. I can do this. And then the second week's when they're like, okay, now we're really down to business. So we do the CPR and
Yeah.
first aid, and we have to do our emergency equipment. We have fire extinguishers, and we have AEDs. We have to learn a bunch of equipment we have, and we have to know
Okay.
where it's at
Right.
and how to access it. So it's a lot of memorization
Yeah.
for the different aircrafts. And we have to evacuate a plane.
Right. I've seen pictures of like in a giant pool. Is that
Yeah, they do a pool,
Oh, wow.
and you have to like float in a raft.
That's cool. 'Cause,
It
I mean,
is.
we try to bring that to the class to make it as realistic as possible. But can
Mm-hmm.
you imagine if like you talk about using these things and never actually use it yourself?
Yeah.
That sounds
So
like you
that's
should do
one
it.
thing that they do every piece of equipment that we have,
Okay.
including our life vests. We have
Yeah.
to know what it feels like to blow it up,
Right.
know when to do it. And so we had to watch a lot of videos of different situations that people got into, pilots got into, the aircraft got into, and, different crashes.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of different to
What?
be able to react to that.
Okay. So you've seen. Okay. So you've
Yeah.
seen other experiences. Okay.
Yeah.
What made your learning experience stand out, or what made it great?
The people that you're with, even though there were a lot of them just were so much younger than me, and you bond
Yeah.
because it's so intense. And those are the people that are in your evacuations with you that you have to depend on. And I don't know if I'm trying to relate what it would be like, but it's just 7 weeks of, really being really intense. And those are the people that know everything you've been through. Probably kind of like basic training
Yeah.
in the Army or the
Right,
Navy.
right.
You just bond.
Right.
And they're still friends with me today. I just did New Year's with a bunch that just came to Chicago with me.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah.
If there were any negative experiences,
Um,
or what could they improve on? And we haven't named any names, right? So like,
Right.
just whatever
Honestly, I didn't really have a lot of negative experience. Anything negative,
There's room for improvement.
yeah. Anything negative, and it might be it might be just me, but anything negative, I felt like you could use it to better yourself with. So anything negative would be if you went up to do a door, you had to memorize them, how to arm them and disarm them, and you had to say it verbatim, and you had to pick it out on your door,
Okay,
and you had to say it a certain way.
What is that? What do you mean open a or what does that
An
mean?
aircraft door.
When you're opening a door? Oh, there's a code. There's like
No.
Oh, what do you mean?
When you open the door, they have different levers. All the different aircrafts have different levers, and they're
Oh.
different doors, and you have to know how to open them in an emergency. And you have to know that from memorization, and sometimes you didn't get it right, but you might get a little mad about it, but it was your fault. You didn't get it right,
I had no idea.
Oh, it's so much. It's so much.
I thought it's like when you're coming into the airport and like they won't open the door until you have like a secret knock or something.
On one of our aircrafts, they have to knock for us to lift the lever a little bit. So,
Oh,
but
okay. Like a secret. I thought it was like a secret password kind of thing.
no,
Never
that's
mind.
on the cockpit door we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But usually when we're at the gate agents open the doors.
Yeah.
We don't have to, but we have to know how to open them in an emergency.
Oh, wow.
And it's usually a different lever.
Is there any training on how to handle like difficult passengers?
Yes.
And leadership training and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, we have, I'm trying to think, we have it's like a whole, almost a week of how to do with different incidents. And we have, there's like 3 different stages and they're levels. And so you start out with a level 1.
Yeah.
And you had learned how to deal with, we have to do self-defense classes.
Oh, great. Anything specific? Like Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu, anything?
No, it's just mainly if you Google self-defense, they'll a lot of people that have been police officers and stuff, they do self-defense, how to get out of somebody holding you a certain way,
Yeah.
how to hit someone a certain way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Or just being assertive in general, right?
The things that on the aircraft, how to use if we have like people on the plane trying to hurt us,
Right.
Because in 9/11, several flight attendants, they got hurt because of that, and they just weren't prepared. And now they prepare us and they teach us how to use our voices. That's the main thing. So when you step at the aircraft door, this was another thing that I did not know that's interesting. You'll have somebody greeting you, usually a flight attendant. Well, she has about 2 seconds to look you up and down and to see if she can utilize you in an emergency, or if you just don't hit her right, if something's different about you. So, and it's true.
Do they train you how to use your gut instinct?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we always
body language, like reading body language.
Yes,
Okay.
and what people say and do, and it's happened to me personally. Nothing bad, but somebody that just wasn't coherent, kind of. And you don't want to get up in a plane 30,000 feet and something go wrong, and so you just verbalize with your pilot. He is primarily in charge of the aircraft, so we always go through him. And I'm just like, hey, the lady in 11C just doesn't seem quite right. And so that way he knows. Yeah. And if anything happens, and it did. So,
and you would actually deplane, like land and
if it was bad enough, we do everything through him, and we call for medical personnel, and we have MedLink on the ground. Yeah.
Like a sat phone. Okay.
So if it's bad enough, they divert and they'll land.
Are there marshals on every plane?
Not every plane, but they're on a lot of
they're
planes.
On a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys know who they are?
We do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's really interesting because a lot of the passengers don't. And when
that's the point, though.
Right. And that it's kind of funny though, because when you get in the air, people kind of they don't act like their normal selves.
Well, they're in their bubble.
Yeah.
And maybe there's that increases their sense of entitlement.
It does. Right. We see the craziest stuff, but you have to look at it. People are traveling. They're tired. They don't take care of themselves. They feel entitled because they spent so much money for this plane ticket. So you just have to look at people, look at personality types. Sometimes you just have to smile. My big thing is sometimes if somebody's having a bad day, I just rub them on the shoulder and smile at them and use my southern voice. I'm sorry.
Right.
Bless your heart. Can I get you anything? Yeah.
Right. I think it's very interesting. Like when someone raises their voice at you, it actually works to your benefit to lower your voice.
It does.
And you're controlling the situation at that point.
And when you're smiling, you're controlling the situation too.
Right.
So
I think they call that mirroring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't. Subconsciously, like, it's like, why is she smiling?
Yeah. It's like, I'm being so mean to her. Why is she being so nice to me? So, and that happens for me naturally. When someone makes me nervous, I smile.
Okay.
And so it works for my benefit. But a lot of people, I see so many people and so many things. I don't think twice about it. I'm just like, well, you never know. We've had people on our flights where they're going to see, they're going to the hospital because they have a loved one dying. Yeah. They lost a son last night in a car accident. You just don't know
what everyone's story is.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You have to think about that.
It's a lot of empathy.
It is. So
let's go into more like day to day then.
Okay.
So how many flights do you have to do, or how many hours a week do you have to put in?
There's no set number. I'm on reserve because I started with a new airline in February.
Okay.
I started with a major airline. And so I'm guaranteed 78 hours a month.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a lot. We get paid when the door closes. So when we when we check in for our trip, we start getting per diem.
Yeah.
And then,
And you check in on your phone, or
no,
where do
we
you?
check in at the gate.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
Gotcha.
then we get paid hourly when the door closes.
Okay.
And so we don't have to do a set hour. Sometimes I'll get called out, sometimes I don't. I'm guaranteed a set
And
amount.
that's the per diem.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
no,
the
that's before per diem.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the hourly. The hourly. The hours I'm guaranteed a month, whether I work or not.
Oh, okay, okay.
But honestly, you can work as much as you want. A lot of people do.
Okay.
So a typical day is probably about 10 hours
Oh, that's not bad.
to 14 hours.
Oh, okay.
And it's a long day, but usually you have one or two legs. Sometimes you have three. Rarely you have four.
Yeah.
And a leg is going like from here to New York. We call that a leg.
Okay.
And so it just depends on the trip. And sometimes you do just a turn, and that would be like to New York and back.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That I can see that being exhausting though.
it is.
Does it feel like it flies by because you're always kind of doing something?
It does.
Okay. Okay.
So even though you're always on your feet, you're always doing something.
Yeah.
Like when we check in immediately, we usually go to the plane and we do our safety checks.
Okay.
So we check all of our equipment, make sure it's all there, it's working. And, because you don't want to be in an emergency and not have it. We check our doors. We check our bins.
Yeah.
We check the bathrooms. You're always looking for something that has to do with safety. That's the main thing the flight attendant does. She doesn't serve you drinks. I mean, she does, but you don't even learn about drinks till the last couple of days of training.
Right.
And so most people have served drinks before, so it's not a big deal. But the main thing that we're there for is for safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On those quick turns, what if you got to eat, right? What if you want to go to the restroom, and like, how does that?
So you go to the restroom on the plane a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we can take time to eat.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll have a 2-hour sit. We'll go in the airport and eat. Most people bring their food with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you'll have another
Or do you
flight
guys-
attendant.
Maybe the pilots or one of you guys like coordinate, be like, hey, I'm running to grab something. Do you guys want anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the pilots are usually really good about saying, hey, we're here for so long, because they can get off the plane if it's a quick turn.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we can't. They'll be like, do you want some coffee? Do you want something to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's harder for them to eat because they have to call back and ask us permission. Not permission, but if we have time to give them a bathroom break, because we have to do certain things to set up safety for them to come out of the cockpit.
Right.
And so that's like,
I've never seen it actually.
you've not?
No.
It's a really big protocol. It's a really big
I
deal.
can imagine. Yeah.
And you have to have 2 flight attendants, and nobody can be like in the
guarding the door?
restroom.
Or like one flight attendant up front too.
Mhm.
Or,
And one in the cockpit. There has to be 2 people in the cockpit at all times.
Okay.
And there's a lot going on if you have to open the cockpit door. So, like in first class, nobody can be up. No one can be in the restroom.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
much for being in first class.
yeah. It doesn't usually take that long,
Yeah.
and a lot of times if it's a turn like to New York and back, most times they don't have to use the restroom. But when, you fly international, they do. And they usually have a relief pilot, so
Okay.
they'll get to come out for a little bit.
Okay. Do you get to choose where you fly, or they just kind of assign that to you?
Right now, they assign it to me. When you have a line, you get to bid on a line. When I pick up on my days off,
Yeah.
I get to see different
okay.
trips and choose.
Okay. And can you remind me what a line is?
A line is the different days you work out of the month. They do it on a monthly basis, and it has like different trips, like maybe some 3-day trips and 4-day trips.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And so it's all built in a week. And so you'll have like a 3-day trip this week, a 4-day the next week.
Oh, that's nice. Then you can kind of plan mini vacations.
You can. So that's what I do.
And right now, are you just domestic, or have you gone in?
I'm both
international?
domestic and
that's so cool.
international. That's why I don't mind being on reserve, because you have to be really senior to hold an international line in Chicago. And I've been to since February. I've been to London 3 times. I've been to Dublin. I've been to Frankfurt, Munich.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've gotten some great trips.
What would you consider seniority? How many years in would you
Oh,
consider
gosh.
seniority?
We have people that have been here 30, 40.
It's such a low turnover rate.
Yeah.
So.
30, 35 years, maybe 40.
Oh, wow.
We have flight attendants, they're in their 80s.
Oh.
And they're sharp. I'm telling you, they're sharp.
Can they still put stow luggages away and reach up top? They can.
If they have to, they
yeah.
can. But if they're smart, they don't, because your rotator cuff will give out on you.
Right.
I will help people put their luggage up, especially older people
Right.
or people that are just not really, they don't have a big frame and they can't reach it.
Yeah.
But I try not to, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're so mean.
But it's their stuff, or
yeah, because you expect a flight attendant to do so much for you, but it really will mess up your rotator cuff after so many years.
Okay.
So you have to be real careful.
Right.
That's another thing with a flight attendant job. Everybody, they're like, oh, they're so glamorous, a flight attendant. I want to date a flight attendant. We're asleep half the time. That's our life.
Dang.
Yeah, you have to get your sleep, especially if you do international.
Yeah.
You have to be careful what you put over your head for your rotator cuffs,
Right.
The shoes you wear.
So how is it living out of a suitcase, or living out of a hotel?
At first, it was a little different. I mean, now it doesn't bother me.
Right.
Usually I pack my suitcase. There's things that I like to take, and I keep it packed. I come in, I wash it, pack it back up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll change a few things out, but not a lot.
Right.
I have a carry-on bag that has all my toiletries, and I have little bags within the big bag, and it stays packed mostly
Right.
of the things. And I've just come to live out of a suitcase.
And you don't mind it.
No.
Home is where the suitcase is.
Right.
Okay.
And you realize that you don't need a lot that you thought you needed. When I first started, I couldn't get my suitcase closed because I was scared I was going to forget something. Now, I know what I need, and it's really not a big deal. And honestly, I can make out of 5 pieces of clothing, I probably make about 3 or 4 outfits. Yeah.
Right.
So you just learn how to incorporate everything together.
With the work uniform, do you just have the hotel dry clean it, and how does that work?
Honestly, with the work uniform, it depends on how many days you work. You can have the hotel do it. Usually I bring a spare.
Oh,
so
okay.
we have several pieces that we bring. A lot of times most people will wear it 2 days, and you just use Febreze a lot.
Yeah.
It's glamorous, right? So, but a lot of times I have 2 dresses, 2 coats, 2 sweaters, 2 skirts, 2 shirts, and if you're going on a 4-day, you bring two outfits usually. Yeah.
We talked about this in the EMT class, a little bit about germs.
Oh yeah.
Any tips or tricks? I heard one where you don't use the hotel remote, you just wrap plastic around the remote and that you avoid touching it, things like that. And
yes,
we talked
there's
about
a lot of
taking
tips.
your separating your work boots or work shoes off of.
Yes.
Not dragging it into your home.
The airplane is like a capsule of germs. The air recirculates. When people are sick, please wear a mask because that recirculates. The only fresh oxygen you're getting is in the cockpit. Not everybody can go up there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some people will wipe their seats down with Sandy wipes.
It's not, but that's not standard protocol between every flight.
No. They do clean. They do vacuum. They clean the bathrooms between every flights. But people are people. And so, people have different standards at their homes. And, and you just have to think, some people wash their hands, some people don't. Some people put the seat down, some people don't. Some people accidentally pee on the floor, some people don't. Some people accidentally throw up in the bathroom all over the wall, some don't.
And they don't clean it.
Yeah. Usually we try and keep it really clean. We do have stuff on the aircraft. We have a lavatory bag that we try and keep things clean. If I know somebody's went into the lavatory, I wipe it down that's been sick. On my last flight, I had somebody, I really think she had the flu, and I kept her in a bathroom because she was getting sick almost
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah,
flight just
yeah.
to keep her away from everybody.
Right.
And that's where she felt comfortable. And then I really wiped it down when she went to her seat. So
Yeah. Have you come across passengers that maybe clip their toenails or are barefoot or like are
yes,
hanging their feet on the person
yes,
on the chair in front of them? Like,
yeah.
how assertive are you guys with those passengers?
Well, we're not enforcers.
Right.
We
But subtle
can,
reminders.
we can like kind of remind you and, kind of use positive reinforcement to kind of get people to do the things that we need to. But we can't make people
Yeah.
do certain things. And I have seen people clip their toenails, and I just say it's pretty disgusting, especially to the poor person sitting next to them. And I see people wear their shoes take their shoes off a lot
Yeah.
on the airplane. And I just want to say that is not water on the bathroom floor. That's all I want to say.
Oh.
And somebody might have, a kid might have used the bathroom on the floor in your aisle
Yeah.
like 2 flights ago. I mean, they come and clean it up. They use sanitary stuff, but it's just not like your house. You probably should not take your shoes off.
So if the air is recirculated,
Mm-hmm.
if someone throws up, then that odor, that vomit odor, kind of like gets recirculated everywhere. Or
They
is there a
do have
filter
filters. They do
okay,
have
okay.
filter systems, and actually, they're doing more filter systems. It's getting a lot better.
Okay.
And so they're doing some new filter systems that are taking actually the germs out.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so they're trying really hard. And some of the planes have that now to where the odors and the germs, they're kind of filtering them out.
To go off germs, that the like most hot question, you get this a lot, is like the Mile High Club, right? So like how often does that happen?
It happens.
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
yeah. I don't recommend it. I mean, you need bleach if you want that
Bleach?
to happen.
Is
Yeah.
there really enough room? Like,
No, there's not. I think people think they're going to do that and they might try that.
Right.
And so most flight attendants will knock on the door if they realize that.
It's like, why would two people be in the bathroom anyways?
Yeah. So we knock on the door and say, "Hey, are you okay?"
You
And
get
if they
your
don't
glasses.
answer, yeah. So we'll knock again and say, "Are you all right in there? Can we help you?" So,
Is there official protocol? Is there like paperwork you got to write up or anything like that?
I don't think there's paperwork you got to write up unless someone gets hurt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, it happens. It's never happened to me.
Okay.
More of people in the seats with blankets over them, I think, is something that's probably happened.
Okay.
And so you just make your presence known. And if anybody is indecent or does that in public, we do have to do our threat levels. And so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. How often do medical emergencies?
All the time.
All the time.
And that's one of the reasons
being
I
up
did.
in the air might, exacerbate
It
people's
does.
chronic issues. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I did the EMT class for.
Yeah.
Is because when you do a lot of red eyes or international, people just don't take care of themselves. They forget to take their medicines. They're dehydrated. They don't sleep. They don't eat right. Or they think that they'll take a Benadryl and drink a glass of wine. And yeah, I've had people pass out doing that.
And not wait, like.
It's just not real smart.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had people have a stroke. I've had someone have a stroke.
So like chest pain and stroke,
Yes.
these are like time sensitive issues. Do you guys, I'm guessing you guys have like baby aspirin on board and are trained, like that's part of
We
first
have
aid,
a
so.
lot of things on board. We have first aid kits. We have several different kits. We always call for a medical professional.
And I'm sure there's actually at least one on every.
There has always been
Right?
on
Yeah,
every
there's
flight.
gotta be,
Yeah. Even nurse, doctor. And so we have to coordinate some of the kits we have that they have to be the ones to open them, because we have training, but, there's, you have to stop it at a certain extent for the flight attendant to be able to open it. They have to have medical direction tell them it's okay.
Interesting. And so why isn't it like protocol to have flight attendants go through like an EMT program?
I really can't answer that. I really don't know. I think it should be.
Yeah.
I think you should have one EMT on every flight.
Right.
I think that would set a lot of airlines apart. They do the basic life support. I mean, most of the flight attendants know how to keep you breathing
Right.
and use the AED, and they know how to splint and how to stop bleeding and
Right.
just the basic things to try and keep someone alive till they can land.
Right.
But usually they will land really fast in the first place that they can that can get the person medical attention
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you think having an EMT license like now, like what do you think you could do now that you have that knowledge that you couldn't do before?
I think I can see signs and symptoms a lot
So recognition.
more
Okay.
to
Being able to
recognize
assess, yeah.
and to know why I'm putting oxygen on someone. A lot of times flight attendants, and I don't per se this is wrong, they teach us to put oxygen, almost everyone that has a medical.
And that's what EMTs were trained to do before.
Yeah.
And now it's like, just be smart about it.
Yeah. And, to really know like the signs and symptoms when you suspect somebody's having a heart attack, like it really opened my eyes to know why I'm doing certain things. And of course it gave me a lot more broader knowledge,
Right.
And all the equipment that we have on board to use it,
Right.
why and how to use Narcan,
Yeah.
And so
That's interesting. And then your medical director would probably be where your home base is, I'm guessing?
it's
Where
where
is it right
MedLink
now?
is.
Yeah.
I don't know
Interesting,
where
yeah.
they're based at, but they're available for all of our flights. And so it's like a 24-hour
Yeah, as it
somebody,
should be, yeah.
doctor that
Right.
can answer everything. And you tell them signs and symptoms, and usually a doctor will tell them what they think. And now as an EMT, I can also put in be more knowledgeable about that, be able to talk to them more so they can direct you what they think you should use.
Right.
Or they'll ask the doctor what he thinks he should use, and they'll direct them where to go.
That's
And
interesting.
so,
You should do you get bonus points if you do have a bachelor's? Because I think you should get bonus points if you have an EMT. Or nursing
no,
or even a
you
medical
don't.
degree.
So we're all hired at the same level. We're a union. Our airline has a union, and
Okay.
so they're very straight across the board. They try and be very equal about everything. If I think that you should have bonus if you are an EMT,
Yeah.
I definitely think that.
Yeah.
I think that's just a bonus for everyone too.
Right.
So.
Interesting. What when you were applying, what made you pick one airline over another?
The airline I'm with now, I picked them because they were making a lot of changes and they were growing. They went through a growth where they stopped growing and they consolidated with another airline. And I kind of looked at some different backgrounds of the different airlines and what they were going through. And I could see that they were trying to change their airline and their image. But they were still a little conservative about some things that I liked.
Oh, okay.
But then they were very, very open about a lot of things about culture. And it just made me feel like they were more well-rounded.
Yeah.
And so we have every kind of person you could ever think work for our airlines. And
cool.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
I really liked that they didn't put a stereotype on our flight attendants and our pilots. And I just felt like they were more for their employees than, I can't say more than other airlines, but I felt like they were really there for their employees.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like I made a great decision with that.
Okay.
And so
From the passenger standpoint, and I only speak for myself, but like as far as branding goes, I can't differentiate airlines. It's just like you go with what's most convenient and cheapest for you.
yeah,
Right? And is your airline, or do you know of airlines that are working on trying to differentiate themselves?
they are.
Just like when you think of a certain airline, is there like what pops into your mind? Like how does it make you feel? And like none of them make me feel a certain type of way, you know?
I think they're all right now really trying to brand themselves and
Yeah.
change their culture.
Okay.
That's really big right now. I know we are kind of branding a little bit different. We're bringing like Spider-Man stuff. We've have Star
Oh,
Wars
yeah. I did
planes.
notice that, actually.
Yeah, and we're kind of doing a lot of different things like that, and they're marketing a lot different.
Right.
They're trying to change their services more. They're trying to offer a little more choices for the passengers,
Okay.
and they're offering choices between seat classes, not just first class and business class and
There's
economy.
yeah,
They're trying to offer several
like slightly
options.
more leg room and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're trying to do that.
Interesting.
It's very competitive.
To what do you mean?
Between the airlines.
Between the airlines,
Yeah,
of course,
it's
yeah.
really competitive.
That's how you bring out the good.
Yeah. And so a lot of times, they have certain routes that they do. And so this airline might not have a route that the other airline, and that might have an effect on how you choose who you go with,
Yeah, of course.
And so a lot of people go with some of the cheaper airlines, but you have to pay for your
Like,
luggage, you have to pay for your drinks and your snacks. And so that's a big difference with the major ones. You get a carry-on and a plus one. So you get to do 2 luggage, and some of them don't even charge to check your
Right.
first one in. Yeah.
with seniority, so when you gain seniority, are you moving up to like business class and then first class? Like, how's the
Seniority
the
for a
ladder
flight
work
attendant?
for a flight attendant?
Seniority is how a line that you get to hold, what kind of line you get to hold. And Chicago's very senior for my airlines. And so a lot of the senior people are able to hold international lines. And if I had a line, I couldn't hold that. I don't know if I'll ever hold an international line. It just depends. So
Yeah, but is that what everyone wants though?
no,
Yeah, right.
no, because a lot of people have children.
Yeah.
They want to do a turn and go home.
Right, right,
They want to go somewhere and come back and be at home by 5:00.
right.
And they're able to do that. They start at 5:00 in the morning and they're home by 5:00 at night.
And do you need seniority to work in like first class or anything like that?
No.
You don't need seniority.
Mm-mm. So usually they bid on what position they want. I preference a position that I like. I do like first class. I like working at the front of the aircraft, but of course it doesn't really matter where you work. So internationally you get paid more for certain positions that you work, and those are probably harder to get.
Yeah. Do you know anything about corporate flight attendants?
I know some about that.
Yeah. Is that something that kind of piques your interest at all?
It does.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
so the EMT that will help me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then I did, when I was younger, put myself through school, I worked for several restaurants and worked for a catering business. So that will also help too.
So there's more of that in corporate.
Yeah.
Life. Okay.
So in corporate, you usually get paid a little bit more starting out.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to do everything safety-wise for the airplane, kind of falls on you.
Right.
And you have to prepare all the food. Sometimes you have to shop for it.
What?
Yeah. It just depends on what corporate you work for.
Cooking it too?
Yeah, you're preparing it. You have to at least make a list of what you want to have, and you usually do it according to who's flying with you. It just depends on what kind of corporate airline you have, and some of them are just more. They have more people that are used to having certain things, and you have to make sure that they have it.
Be extra accommodating.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Accommodating. You have to be more accommodating. So they expect a little bit more.
You get to meet interesting people.
You do. So I follow some friends that have a blog that are corporate flight attendants.
Okay.
And they get to go some great places, but sometimes they're gone for 10 days.
Right.
Yeah.
There are so many bloggers and vloggers that are flight attendants. Do you think they're doing this? Is there like any outside gain to this, or is this just like as a journal for themselves to document their journey?
I think there's both.
Yeah.
And so I think some of them it's, documenting their journey. I have people that document every flight they do.
Oh, wow.
And so then I think some it's, there's outside
Do they
influences
partner with
with different companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
As
And
what? Like,
so,
what do you mean? Like, get more trips out of something, or like, what do they
no,
get?
they probably get paid, how many clicks they get. And so they partner. If you'll go look, they'll have certain companies that have like little commercials and, they're selling their products kind of through them.
For someone who's always on the go and things like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
As far as compensation goes, do you feel like you're well compensated for the number of hours you put in?
I do for where you start out. I know some people don't because being a flight attendant starting out probably is not, the most it's not a whole lot of money if you look on a scale
Of just money.
yeah,
But there's perks outside
but
of
there's
that.
perks.
Yeah.
And then after so many years you're more than compensated with money. We top out at about 13 years. A lot of our flight attendants make 6 figures that have topped out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot.
And how would you compare that to a pilot?
Of course, they make a little bit more than us
okay.
usually, especially in the major airlines.
Okay.
Um,
Because I also hear that they're underpaid too, in general.
yeah, especially some of the regionals
Okay.
are. When you start out as when you're a captain, you're pretty topped out.
Sure.
You make really good money. Co-captain, he probably starts out less, but a lot of ours co-captains, they've been there for a long time.
Okay.
They're not young, they've flown a lot.
Right.
And I think a lot of pilots start out in the regionals.
Yeah.
I do think for what they pay for schooling, they probably don't,
Right?
make as
Like,
much.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh my gosh, it's so expensive.
And there is schooling for flight attendant, but like, it's not required though.
No, it's not. There is schooling and some people do that, but I don't highly recommend it if you want to know the real truth, because if you're with a great airline, they're going to
Put you through.
put you through the training that they want to do for
Right.
their aircraft.
Does it even help your chances of getting in then?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I really don't think so, because they want somebody that they want to train somebody to do it their way.
That's open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, because we have different positions and commands that we say when we're evacuating an aircraft, and
Okay.
they want you to know the commands that for their airline.
Yeah.
So we're all in one accord doing things the same way.
Right.
And so I don't know if it would hurt you. It would give you some outlook on what we do.
Right.
I don't think it would hinder you from getting the job, but I don't think it's going to make your chances any better.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
Might look good on your resume, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's not a necessity.
Okay. Okay. Question from a previous guest from shout out Nick. He had a question about water. The water on the plane.
Okay.
And if it's actually potable. And so like, would you drink the coffee or tea?
It is.
Oh, right. Okay.
And
'cause the water comes from wherever you're at.
Yeah.
It comes from different sources.
The water that we serve passengers is bottled water.
Oh.
And the potable water it's treated, and that's what we make our coffee and tea with. And I drink coffee on the airplane every day.
Okay.
So nothing bad's happened to me yet.
Another health related question is, do you know any flight attendants that have been doing it long enough that might have gotten exposed to EMF, like electromagnetic frequencies, like for a long period of time?
I don't.
Yeah, and if there's any signs or symptoms, like chronic issues of like maybe fatigue or
Yeah,
like that,
I don't. I think fatigue is a lot with our job and
Yeah.
going through different time zones, even if you're in the U.S.
Right.
I've never heard anybody really say anything about that. I know that's kind of a thing out there people talk about, but never.
Yeah, because they have like hydrogen pills to like combat that.
Yeah.
to alleviate that.
It's never really. I never really talk about that with anyone.
Interesting.
I've just heard it, somebody say something about that. I've never even thought anything about it, honestly.
Any other travel hacks that you've learned over the last
Oh,
years?
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just top 5.
Top 5. my favorite travel hack is when it's for a girl, when you carry your curling iron. Usually I'm in a hurry and I have to be downstairs at a certain time. So I cool it off by wrapping a washcloth around it. That's a cool washcloth. So that's how I cool it off real fast. I always carry the wrinkle release with me. Always, always. I don't ever sweat if I forget anything. I don't ever think about it because the hotel behind the desk, a lot of people don't know, they have everything that you need and they will give it to you. Like the deodorant, toothbrushes, toothpaste. A
Oh,
lot of
really?
people don't know that. Yes. If you ever forget
But because you're a
anything,
flight attendant, or?
no, just people.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
a guest at a hotel and you ever forget anything, usually razors, they have all that.
Oh,
And they'll give it to you if you ask for it.
oh, dope.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, they carry really great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another travel hack, I do book my hotels through ID90, and we get that as airline employees. Certain employees get it. We can invite friends. It's a little cheaper. You can
What is it?
kind of.
It's a group of hotels or ID?
It's a app
It's an
that
app.
you use. Yeah, I'll send you an invite. So
So what, like discounted rates, or?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
really
Okay, okay.
great. What else is there? There's so many hacks. I always carry, since I'm on reserve, I usually carry a smaller puffer jacket.
Okay.
I recommend getting the really thin ones that you can just roll up.
Yeah, little shells. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really easy to carry.
Interesting.
And if you forget your curling iron, you can wrap your hair in tissues and it'll curl it.
What?
You can. You can do that.
Okay.
So,
Can you speak on, I don't, either from personal experience or knowing other flight attendants that have gone through this, but with your travel schedule, how hard or easy was it to have a dating life?
oh, that's real interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people are scared to date flight attendants because they think, oh, you're in every city. You probably talk to millions of people. It's not true. We don't have time. We sleep. Currently, I'm dating someone who lives in a different city.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. You just have to both be willing to make it work. And we see each other every week. And so sometimes he comes where I'm at. I've been on a layover in Tampa and it's been really long, and he just jumps on the plane and comes meet me and we hang out in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
So if you're willing to make it work, you can make it work.
Yeah. And with that, do you find flight attendants, because they just have a hard time settling, they just start dating each other?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you bump into the same flight attendants often?
Not a lot.
Oh, okay, okay.
There are certain ones I do.
Yeah.
There's so many flight attendants. We don't work with the same people every day.
Do you like that?
I do. But I like meeting different people.
Because then you have kind of like roots in all over the country.
Yeah.
In a way.
And so, I mean, just people are just interesting. I find that a lot of flight attendants are not married or not dating because it does take a lot of effort. And a lot of people want their spouse or their boyfriend or girlfriend to be at home every night, or easy accessible. And, we're gone 3 days, 4 days sometimes. So
Yeah.
I like it, though. I think it adds spice to the relationship. Like, oh my gosh, who are you? I haven't seen you in 3 days, So
Yeah. Interesting. So what's next? What's next for you?
I don't know. I've been thinking about that.
Maybe the corporate, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Do they look for a certain number of years, like at a major, before you
They
go
do.
Oh, okay.
You have to at least have a year or two. Most of them, they say a year, and then you have to have other qualifications. So I have a lot of room to grow at the airline I'm at. They hire within. So I can also do, their corporate headquarters are here, so I can also do things with them. A lot of maybe a trainer. I don't know. I'm just keeping it open
Right.
to see.
Right.
We do have like a disaster relief team. I want to join. The EMT will help me with that, where we go and we help where disasters are.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I knew like I guess first responders would do that, but I
Yeah.
didn't know. Oh, that's
So we
really
have
cool.
like a first responders team that does that.
Oh,
I want
interesting.
to join that.
I know Australia's going through some things right now.
Yeah. And so they'll send people in, they'll fly people in to
Interesting.
help.
Yeah, we talked about this before we started recording, but how do you hope to incorporate the EMT? Not tactically, but maybe at the corporate level.
Oh, at the corporate level, I'd love to see an EMT on every flight.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. It just makes you more knowledgeable and able to handle things. And I think that people travel more now. People I think, are sicker sometimes now with different things.
Yeah.
And I just think it would make us stand out more. Definitely.
Yeah, as a company.
Yeah, as a company, I do. I think it just benefit everyone, from our passengers to our company, you know.
Speaking of interesting backgrounds, like do you know any flight attendants that came from like another kind of off like the wall background?
Yeah, a lot. Nurses, teachers, off the wall background. Trying to
Like
think.
complete like 180. Like they didn't
Complete
they
180.
weren't happy with what they were doing and
Some people that, well, no, I guess the hospitality industry. I've had a lot of hotel people that have actually been GMs of hotels.
wow.
Yeah. CEOs.
And that's a lot because they're coming from
They're coming from good things. Yeah.
right.
And you're
Or
just
so we
like,
thought.
yeah, it's the stress, you know? I mean, and flight attendants, your job's stressful, but sometimes it's as stressful as you make it.
Yeah.
And it's really a great job. It really is.
That's amazing.
I think it's kind of underrated, you know, because flight attendants, we kind of get complacent, and then we start saying, oh, we could have this, we could have that. And people, they just don't realize we have so much opportunity. We have so many perks, and, you know, you're on your flight, and if everything goes good, you leave, you go home. I mean, it's not a hard job if you keep it safe.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to keep it safe.
And that's why, you're adamant about keeping things stowed away.
Yeah.
And seatbelts and all
And
that.
I don't think people aren't able to look at the whole picture. And
Right.
so,
They're stuck in a bubble.
yeah, just one small thing, one seatbelt that's not buckled and we hit turbulence, you know, a small child could fly and be really hurt.
Yeah.
Even an adult, you know, a tray table that's not put up during landing can be a very bad object if we crash, you know, and landing, takeoff, and landing is, you know, the most accidents occur.
Yeah.
So,
And I wasn't aware of this as a career. I mean, I flew, but like not as often, but like in high school, even in college, like I don't know if people consider this as a career.
I don't think they do. So I've noticed that they're like, oh, you're a flight attendant, it's a career.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great living. You can make really good money being a flight attendant.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some people don't do it for the money. Some people do it for the perks.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my airline, a lot of people are older that have it, you know, they fly one trip a month. They're able to keep their benefits. I mean, that's huge.
And so I read that as well as like maybe when they first got on, they don't feel like they're appropriately compensated. So they work the bare minimum to get the perks, but then they'll have like another full-time job.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you don't make a whole lot.
And so, but are they still accruing like seniority points? Like they are.
Yeah.
But like only the bare minimum hours that they're working, or how does that?
You only have to work the bare minimum hours.
But
and
does that count as a whole year of accruing seniority?
We don't accrue. Seniority is done by the year.
So
you're
you
hired.
can work the bare minimum and you still have that year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And so usually there's bare minimum a month, especially on reserve.
Yeah.
I can put in and drop things. I can drop trips or give them to people. I can drop days. I might not get paid for them, but you know, I can do that. A lot of people have
Still
second
remain in
jobs.
good standing.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And so if you do what you're supposed to do, if you show up, you do your job, you remain in good standing. You know, it's not, you have to try hard to get fired, you know, you do. So
Like once you get your foot in the door, you're pretty much in.
yeah, unless you're doing something that's really there are things that they will not tolerate. A lot of it has to do with safety.
Yeah.
And that's the huge part of the airline is the
Okay.
safety, and that's you'll hear flight attendants say it all the time: safety, safety, safety.
Okay.
And if you do something that's not safe that endangers others, you probably will lose your job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Where can people find you besides the blog?
I'm on Facebook.
You're on Facebook.
I'm on Instagram. Yeah, Kris King.
We'll
Chris A. King. Yeah.
put the links in the-
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
You got Snapchat?
I do. I know. Imagine.
We want to see more from you.
Okay.
I love, like, from various industries, I'm always fascinated by the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so, but, like, not just the glamour, too. Obviously you don't want to look, make anyone look bad, but, like, just all
To see what really goes on.
What does
I mean,
it
because
really
things
look
go
like? Yeah.
on. Yeah. I had a flight attendant get on the plane yesterday, and he goes, "This is what my day was like." And he was there was a beautiful skyline, and he was trying to record it. And then you hear a baby. He was like, "The baby cried for 45 minutes." Flight attendants do deal with a lot. I mean, a lot of people take them for granted, but there's a lot that goes on in the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how extra would you be? So, like, with the baby, like, would you, if it was inconsolable, would you or another flight attendant, take it into their hands to
I've done
try?
that.
You have? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times it has to do with their ears. Or you have toddlers. Toddlers don't like to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes you have kids that are autistic.
Mm.
And I think a lot of the public and people don't realize that. That's a big thing. And I do see it a lot, and they're out of their space. And when you take an autistic child that's out of their space, they have meltdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that a lot.
And so what we would just find out what their interests are and just try to relate and build
Yeah,
rapport
or the
with them.
parent. Or you really do positive reinforcement to the parent.
Yeah.
You're doing such a great job.
Okay.
Let me know if you need anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
that
kind
goes a
of,
long way.
yeah, you kind of pick up, I'm here if you need me. Do you need anything?
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Next thing you know, they're tweeting about that.
Yeah.
Kris was such a great flight attendant.
Well, I try, because you never know.
Yeah.
And kids, they're unpredictable. Right. But there has been kids that I've taken and I've walked, and I don't know why they reached out for me, and they were driving their parents. You could see it on their face.
But they're cool with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so I just stood right there and kind of talked to the kid and held them, and they were fine.
And I'm sure they'd be enthralled with, like, seeing the behind the scenes.
Yeah. And
right?
so
I'm sure, like, they're used to, like, seeing maybe the cockpit, but, like, seeing the back of the plane.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
You don't see it. So
interesting.
But anything that you can think of, we probably have went through on the plane.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you can, when you get on the plane, I recommend maybe buying a sweet treat for your flight attendant. Give it to them. That gets you a long ways, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
They'll come check on you. Yeah.
Oh.
Even if you give them hand sanitizer, something cute that cost $1. Yeah. A flight attendant will come and check on you so much. Are you okay? You will have the best customer service.
Oh.
That's just a little tidbit there.
People just don't think about that.
They don't. One time I had a couple who flies a lot, and they gave us just this little bitty plastic bag with a couple Hershey Kisses in it and a note, and just say, "We just want you to know that we see everything you go through and that you're really appreciated." That goes a long way as a flight attendant. We talked to them probably the whole flight after we did all of our service. Yeah, because they were just so interesting. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is there any no-nos to that? Maybe, like, just no home goods? Or
no home-cooked food.
Yeah.
So we're not supposed to eat, like, home-cooked food and stuff. No probably alcoholic drinks probably that are open, I mean, if you gave me a bottle of wine, I might take it home, but I don't know. So, just something within reason.
Yeah. Good to know.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. I agree.
It does.
And in the EMT industry, it's, it's not an industry to be tipped in. And, like, my personal rule is, like, they're either blocking the door and they won't take no 5 times, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, fine. But, like, it's honestly, like, you do it because you're here to help them.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I feel like they're not in a position to give me money because they just came from the hospital or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, I don't. You need that. I don't need that. But in the hospitality industry, it is appreciated, and it's.
It is, but we
welcomed.
don't. We can't accept tips.
Oh, no tips though. Okay.
Mm-mm. No. So it's frowned upon.
Okay.
So that I guess they don't want their passengers to feel like,
That
or
they
their
have to.
customers to feel like they have to tip their
Okay.
flight attendant. I'm sure people do that, but we're not supposed to take that.
Sure.
We can take little bitty things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not.
Snacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any last advice for someone seeking or trying to become a flight attendant?
Do it.
Mm.
Just do it. I mean, a lot of people hold back and they question it too much. There's so many different airlines. If you put your resume into all of them, somebody's going to call you back. If you have what they're looking for, they're going to call you back. And don't be intimidated.
Yeah, there's no real way to like intern or shadow. You just got to fly with them and kind of maybe ask the flight attendants on your flight.
And that's one thing that I'm going to start writing about more is how to get a job with the airlines. Because I think people are intimidated because they don't hire a lot. But the people that they do hire, they never thought that they would get hired. I really didn't know that when I was just applying.
How hard it was, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, why not?
Yeah.
But I think I'm at that point in my life. I'm just like, I think I want to do something. I'm going to try it. So why not? If I succeed, I succeed. If I fail, I fail.
Right.
And you don't get anywhere unless you fail a little bit, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, it's welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Chris, thank you so much.
You're
for coming
welcome.
on. It'll be posted within the next couple days.
Okay, great.
But thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks for the great coffee. It was fabulous.
Shout out Stivers. You guys are coming on next.
Hi.
Stay curious. Abla aloha. I'll see you in the next episode.